Hey, welcome back to Magic City Entertainment. Hopefully you guys are doing great today. So for today's video, I'm bringing you guys a review of Tom Clancy's Without Remorse. And let me say, there are spoilers, so you guys know this is your warning. Let me say, I was fairly disappointed with this movie. I was expecting big things with this movie. Like, the way they made it seem, this movie was supposed to be extremely good. The trailers made it seem really fucking interesting, but it fell flat on its face. Here's some reasons why. So I'm gonna give you a little backstory. So you have John, who's played by Michael B. Jordan, and his character basically goes on this mission with his team, and they end up killing the wrong people. They end up killing these Russians instead of some other group they were supposed to kill. Sorry. And that leads these whole events basically leading up to the Russians finding out who did it, and they end up going to US territory to kill them. Okay? So they end up killing all of John's team besides him and then the girl that he was working with. I forgot her name. But in the whole ordeal of them trying to kill John, they kill his wife. So now it's this whole revenge plot type story that they have going on here. And it just doesn't feel, I don't know, like I wasn't really attached to any of the characters, so I didn't really care. And you know, they go on this whole revenge plot story of, you know, John being this crazy guy, basically, and eventually he just gets the job done, and he goes in, he kills who he's got to kill. He's trying to find out who killed his wife. He does, he ends up meeting that guy, but then come to find out that the Russians played them to get over to their soil, so if they find dead bodies of Americans, they can start a war, basically. So that was the whole story, basically. The revenge plot story got thrown out. So they're like, yeah, we're gonna have a start a war or something like that. Where did this come from? Like, you're just throwing stuff out of your ass right now. Like, you know, give us a little bit more detail, which they kind of do towards the end of the movie, because the Secretary of State is the main villain behind everything and every stuff. So that was a little weird, because in the entire story, they were pointing at one guy, Whitner, and he was supposed to be the bad guy, right? Apparently not. He was apparently the good guy, and he was always on their side. It's just, they never trusted the man. He just looked shady. So like, yeah, we're not gonna trust him. He looks shady, so that's why. But literally, the Secretary of State was the one behind everything. So they had that. And I don't know, I felt like none of these characters were interesting enough for me to really be invested in them. Like, I was hoping Michael B. Jordan character would be very interesting. Really wasn't. Like, Michael B. Jordan played the hell out of this role, though. I'll give him that. He did really well. He does well in all his roles. But for some reason, I just wasn't connected to this character. Like, his character felt very bland. Like, it was there, and it was whatever. You know, no one really like took like the frame and said, yo, I'm here, I'm gonna act my ass off, you know, so you guys can get attached to this kid. Like, no, I wasn't attached to any of them. They end up introducing a new team later on for the mission to go to Russia and stuff. That team was sort of kind of interesting. You got a little bit of the backstory of them. One of them died, had kids, and his last words said, tell him I love him, then he dies. All right, cool. Like, they kind of had some backstories. You actually kind of got to know them a little bit. You got to know their names instead of their code names, which was cool. Yeah, and then the fight scenes were not that great. They really weren't, like, they weren't hitting. Like, you're thinking, all right, well, Tom Clancy's, all right, we're gonna have some really dope fight scenes. No, there was only one fight scene that was nice. It was a prison scene, where he's locked up in prison and he fights off this whole bunch of guards, which was smart because he turned the water on And when the water goes down on the floor, they slip. So it's easy for him to like fight. And he was throwing water everywhere, so he put water on his body, so when they grabbed him, it just slipped off of him. That was smart. That was smart and intuitive. Like, those scenes, there meant to be more of those scenes in the movie, but there really wasn't. You know, I felt like they focused more on that one fight scene, because that's the fight scene they saw in the trailer, so that one had to be perfect. The rest were okay. I won't say they were bad, but they were okay. Like, they weren't at that level of the prison scene. And the thing is, that prison scene got cut off early. On top of that, he fought a whole bunch, and then he got a call to get out when there was a whole lot more enemies outside. I was like, yo, can he at least fight some more? Like, let's see if he can take them all out, and then he gets that call. Like, that would have been badass. But nah, they said, nah, we're gonna cut a scene, we're gonna cut it short. So that's out of that. You know, Lauren London did great as the wife, as Pam. And that was another thing that was kind of weird, because like he each time that he got to the villain, right, he wanted them to say his wife's name. He kept saying, "You're gonna say my wife's name." What does that bring to you if they say your wife's name? Does it give you closure for what they did? Like, I just don't get it. You know, even when he killed the Secretary of State, the Secretary of State still didn't say his wife's name. So what was the whole point of you pushing them to say your wife's name if they weren't even gonna say it in the first place? So that was a little, I was like, okay, that probably could have been cut, honestly. I can see they're trying to build the tension between, you know, that whole scene, but that scene wasn't even like powerful, because like it happened so damn quick. You didn't even get a chance to understand who his wife is, who she is, or anything like that. You didn't even get to understand like who's John. Like, that's one thing with this movie, is that you don't get to understand any of these characters. They just assume that you already know who this guy is, you know what type of person he is, his whole backstory. Like, no, I don't know who this is. Can you give us a little bit more information about him? Like, make us more invested in the story and in him. Because the story was like something that's been done better already, which has been, you know. But it's still, it's watchable. It's not like it's extremely bad, but it's a watchable movie. I was fairly disappointed in some parts. I was hoping it would be a lot better than what we got. But, you know, what can we do? You know? So, with that being said, I'm gonna give Tom Clancy's Without Remorse a review score of 6 out of 10. Look, it was a really good movie. It had some decent moments. It could have been better. I think if they did, you know, character development better, you know, some better fight scenes, maybe add in maybe one guy who knows martial arts or something, like bring a different element to the game, you know, because it seemed like all the fighters he fought all fought the same. Wasn't very different variations between them. Could have made the you know, the plot just better, you know. Could have definitely developed, you know, the Secretary of State being more powerful than he is, you know, instead of just killing him off so quickly. Maybe you could have branched off and made another movie where the Secretary of State has gotten away and everything, and then John has to get a team together to go get him. Like, could have made a whole other movie about that. It's a missed opportunity. But it looks like they probably are gonna make another one, because the way it ended, he's making a team, you know, to, I guess I'm assuming, to deal with type of shit that they were dealing with before, you know. I forgot the name. Oh, he calls it Rainbow. So I wonder if that's like Rainbow Six, you know, like he has a team and everything. So I don't know, maybe they make a movie about that, but this movie just wasn't it. And I wish it was, but it wasn't. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed the review, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. And remember, stay amazing. Peace.